there is some good news, I suspect, to be found in all of this. First, college professors are fighting back against the censorship, and in many cases winning. And second, the growing number of these attempts to silence Israel's critics is clear evidence that the long overdue criticism of Israel is now starting to hit home, thereby causing panic among Israel's rigid Israel can do no wrong proponents. After all, if Israel's cause is so just, then why are its defenders afraid to allow those who would criticize Israel a fair and equal chance to do so? Is there to be no academic freedom where Israel is the issue? At the end of the day, those who level charges of anti-Semitism at anyone who dares criticize Israel end up looking just as silly, I think, as do the uncritical supporters of the Bush administration when they accuse opponents of the Iraq War of being anti-American. And what is the best way, thank you, and what is the best way to defend against the pro-Israeli lobby's efforts to silence criticism of Israel? It's painfully simple. It's simply to refuse to be silenced, as you and I are refusing to be silent today. We must refuse to allow Israel's uncritical supporters to frighten us in keeping silence about what we know must be said. Speak truth to power, as Amy Goodman on my radio station likes to say, or in this case, confronted by those who fear the truth, speak truth to all who will listen. Do not be cowed by those who can only hide behind malicious and cowardly charges of anti-Semitism in order to defend their cause. And do so because our most fundamental freedom, the freedom to think and speak, is at stake. One last thought, if I may, on this matter. Isn't it ironic that Jews and others living in Israel can dissent against the policies of Israel without being labeled anti-Semitic or self-hating Jews? Whereas if you do the same thing in this country, you know what happens. More freedom to discuss this issue in a wholesome way in Israel than in the United States itself. Finally, sisters and brothers, let me conclude with these few thoughts. On this, the 60th anniversary of the creation of Israel, as a citizen of the United States, I am angry and ashamed that the U.S. government continues to back the genocidal policies of the Israeli government in Palestine in general and in Gaza in particular. No words really can fully express my outrage at these war crimes of the U.S. and Israeli governments. And I am saddened by the fact that today the United States government and the Israeli government seem to have forgotten that after the Jewish Holocaust of World War II, the Jewish people pledged, never again, the theme of this conference, never again. And I suspect you and millions like us all over the world joined in that never again pledge. And so today, I must ask the good and decent people of Israel, who have for generations now been warring against their neighbors and illegally occupying their land, when will the Palestinian people be able to say, never again? I must ask, if it was wrong to destroy the homes and shops of Jews in Germany, is it not wrong today to destroy the homes and shops of the Palestinian people? I must ask, if it was wrong to drag Jews from their homes in Germany and take them away for torturous interrogation, is it not wrong today to drag Palestinians from their homes in Gaza for torturous interrogation? If it was wrong to deny nourishment to a nursing Jewish mother in Germany with a hungry child at her breast, is it not wrong today to do the same with a Palestinian mother? And if it was wrong to subject Jews to collective punishment in Germany, is it not wrong to subject Palestinians to collective punishment in Gaza and throughout the occupied territories? Well, I've already talked for too long. I'm going to have the honor of sharing the program with someone else in a few minutes. And first, though, it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Bishop, that we now can have questions, comments.
Yeah.
You want to?
We now have time for questions and answers, so if you could just stand and raise your hand and we could take your questions.
Yeah, I have a question. You called Israel a genocidal nation. How is it possible that the Palestinian population has increased in the past 30 years?
Actually, what I said was they're engaging in genocidal policies. which is a distinction. Happily, they have not been successful. But their efforts to destroy all family records, hospitals, schools, to so balkanize the territory so that people can't even get to work. If you look at what Israel has done over the last 60 years, it isn't simply on the benefit of something going on in the heart of Israel. It can only be seen as an effort to finish what they started in 1948 when 700,000 Palestinians were forced to flee. That's why I call it a genocidal policy. It certainly hasn't resulted in that yet, although there have been tens of thousands of deaths. Yes, a professor from Columbia.
How do you explain that the most civilized nation, the United States, can tolerate such a massacre when the United States could not tolerate massacres before?
You're speaking of what's going on now in Gaza, or in... The question was, how do I explain that a civilized nation like the United States can tolerate the massacres that go on? Well, and I don't know that you and I differ on this or not, but I don't start from the assumption that in these regards, I don't subscribe to the notion that U.S. foreign policy is civilized. I mean, it's not civilized. We're engaged in a permanent war. We do it without declarations of war. We have. If you look at some of these posters that are up at the Center for the Study of Political Graphics, the number of nations that we were bombing Sudan last week. I mean, we willy-nilly go waging war all over the world, dropping bombs, starving people, 3 million dead in Korea, as many dead in Vietnam, and on and on. That's hardly the actions of a civilized nation. Its people may think of themselves as civilized. Some of the institutions of government may think of themselves as civilized. But I don't know how anyone can defend the U.S. foreign policy, whether it's vis-a-vis its blind, unquestioning support of Israel when it does whatever it wishes to do in Palestine, or anywhere else in the world. I don't think it is behaving in a civilized way, I guess. So therefore, I'm not surprised. And as I tried to indicate in my remarks, since Israel plays such a key role in the global imperial interest of the United States vis-a-vis, oil and the control of the flow of oil and what have you. That's why they do it. They don't care about the consequences. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Surely somebody out there must disagree with something I said. No? Well, all right.
The next people we're having coming up to speak need no introduction. They're the parents of Rachel Corrie. I'd like to introduce Cindy and Craig Corrie.
Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity just to say hello to all of you who have gathered here. My name is Cindy Corrie. It was a pleasure to get to listen to James Lafferty of the National Lawyers Guild. Thank you very much for your very powerful and thought-provoking remarks. It's important and it's invigorating to hear someone tell it like it is, and I thank you for that. We're going to be speaking tonight. I don't know the room number or anything. Some others can help you with that information. So we really are here just to say hello to you. But I really wanted to thank the Muslim Student Association. I'm so inspired by the wall that they've put up here, by the program that they've created for this very important week. I told them I wish that we could clone them and take them to other college campuses because it would be really remarkable if we could have things like this happening on campuses across the United States until the wall comes down in Palestine, in the West Bank, also the walls in Gaza. I think that the visibility that the students are trying to bring to this issue here on your campus is such a critical piece of what needs to happen, particularly in this